The victory for Manchester United on the road against Crystal Palace was less a demonstration of dominance and more a lesson in resilience. The pre-match narrative suggesting United's inability to beat Palace was always a simplistic view. The real, more entrenched issue has been their consistent failure to secure results following European commitments. This context made the trip to Selhurst Park a daunting prospect, a fixture where dropping points felt almost preordained. The game unfolded precisely as feared, a grueling, physically demanding contest where creativity was scarce and the threat of conceding felt ever present. Falling behind only intensified these anxieties, casting serious doubt on the team's capacity to mount a comeback against a well-drilled and organised opponent. Crystal Palace established a firm grip on the contest throughout the first half, controlling the tempo and forcing United into a reactive posture. The match's pivotal turning point arrived, not from a moment of individual brilliance within the starting 11, but from the strategic interventions from the sidelines. The manager's substitutions proved to be exceptionally effective, injecting precisely the kind of energy and decisiveness that was lacking. This transformed the encounter into a razor-thin contest, a true battle of attrition, where neither side could claim they battered the other. The result hung in a delicate balance until the final whistle. A 2-1 victory for Palace, a 1-1 draw, or the eventual 2-1 outcome for United would all have been perfectly fair reflections of the game's flow. It was a match decided by the finest of margins. The equalising goal from Joshua Zirkzee was a moment of pure unadulterated quality that starkly contrasted the general scrappiness of the match. His first touch to control the difficult chance was impeccable, instantly setting himself apart from the frantic defending around him. The subsequent finish was executed with a cold, clinical precision. A powerful and accurate strike that gave the goalkeeper no opportunity to react. This single act provided the necessary spark, shifting the entire momentum of the game and setting the stage for the comeback. Mason Mount's contribution, the goal that ultimately secured the lead, further underscored this theme of clinical finishing in a game otherwise starved of clear chances. It was a decent overall showing from Zirkzee, a significant improvement over his recent outings, yet it still highlighted a lingering systemic issue within the front line. The fundamental problem persists with a forward line comprising multiple players who inherently want to drop deep and receive the ball to feet. This creates a conspicuous lack of a consistent focal point. A player who occupies central defenders, makes runs in behind and provides a target for crosses. This tactical redundancy makes United painfully predictable and straightforward to defend against in open play. The statistics from the game tell a revealing story. Both teams registered 14 shots, but Palace actually recorded a slightly higher expected goals metric. This data point confirms that United's victory was not built on chance creation, but on superior finishing efficiency. While Palace crafted opportunities in dangerous, clustered areas around the penalty spot, a large portion of United's efforts were from wider, less advantageous angles. The reality is that this was a set-piece game, with all the decisive goals originating from rehearsed plays rather than fluid, open-play sequences. While being effective from dead ball situations is a valuable asset, it is a genuine concern that the team appears incapable of scoring through any other means. This attacking impotence is where the absences of players like Kuna and Chesko are felt most acutely. It is fascinating to observe how the entire attacking mechanism, including the performances of players like Amadou Boumo, has appeared so much less effective since those key individuals were sidelined. Their specific profiles offered a different dimension, a variability that the current setup sorely lacks. The second half was ultimately defined by that clinical edge in front of goal from both Mount and Zirkzee, but it was underpinned by a growing solidity in the defensive unit. The performances of players like Diogo Dalot and even Harry Maguire, who was substituted, but whose performance was not as poor as some suggested, provided a stable foundation. In the critical, physical duels, Dalot in particular had an outstanding game up against the formidable Jean-Philippe Mateta, consistently winning more than his fair share of aerial challenges. The team did what was necessary, grinding out a result in a game that was never going to be a showcase of aesthetic football. It was a performance built on showing up, battling for every ball, and demonstrating a collective fortitude. In many ways, Joshua Zirkzee epitomised this battling spirit. His statistics are a testament to his work rate. involved in 15 total duels, winning 8 of them, and contesting a remarkable 11 aerial duels, of which he won 6. This was achieved while being marked by the physical powerhouse that is Chris Richards. If there was ever a performance to showcase Xerxes' value beyond just goals, Mason Mount's contribution of a goal was complemented by an overall display that hinted at his underlying value. He looked noticeably sharp and effective, with moments in the game where his aggressive intent and proactive movement provided glimpses into exactly why managers are often drawn to his skill set. There were no genuinely bad performances in a United shirt. No individual displays that prompted outright alarm or calls for immediate benching. It was, across the board, a solid, professional and committed performance where everyone contributed to the collective effort. The manager's pre-game setup was also a point of tactical interest. This was a game where the formations lined up almost perfectly man for man across the pitch, creating a series of individual battles that would decide the match. The outcome of this setup was a predictably even and intensely contested game. One destined to be decided by isolated moments of quality or lapses in concentration. What decided it in the end was the superior finishing when those critical moments arrived. A special mention must also go to Casemiro, who was heavily involved across all defensive metrics, duels, tackles, interceptions, while also contributing to United's attacking forays. It was another strong showing from him. A performance that perfectly epitomises just how much the team's overall functionality is dependent on his individual performance in the heart of the midfield. It was also encouraging to see the return of Lisandro Martinez, even if his cameo was brief and involved minimal impact. In his 10 minutes on the pitch, he registered no tackles, no interceptions, 1 clearance and 1 recovery, with a passing accuracy that reflected a player shaking off rust. The outing was purely about building match fitness, and no one should be expecting major contributions from him at this early stage of his return. Looking at the broader offensive output, there was a distinct lack of effective crossing from United, which could be attributed to the excellent defensive work of Richards and Mark Guehi, who dealt with everything that came into their domain with authority. The overarching emotion following this performance is not one of unbridled joy, but of palpable relief. That is the current state of being a Manchester United fan. As the saying goes, you don't get a lot of credit for beating Crystal Palace, even though it is a notoriously tough place to visit, and they have taken points off nearly every top team they have faced this season. They are a phenomenally difficult team to break down. Content to let you have possession and then ask you penetrating questions on the counter-attack. When your squad is missing its most potent attacking weapons, as United's currently is, they will always make life exceptionally difficult. They ask serious questions of United, and while the answers weren't always pretty, they were ultimately effective. It was an extremely close game that could have swung in any direction, and no rational observer could have complained about any of the potential outcomes. The focus now is simply on accumulating as many points as possible. This season is about staying in the hunt, navigating the injury crises and seeing what reinforcements can be secured to impact the remainder of the campaign. The 3 points from a genuinely tough away ground have been secured. The only thing left to do is move on to the next challenge.